Watch the latest sci-fi thriller from the director of Doctor Strange the Gorge in one sitting. These transparent glowing humans had their genes corrupted, turning them into nodes growing on massive vines. While they slept, they breathed in a slow, rhythmic pattern. But then, Anya accidentally stepped on a tentacle. The vines woke up, and their tentacles reached out, wrapping around the two just as they were about to cross. To save Levi, Anya had no choice but to fire her last grenade. Both Levi and Anya are ranked among the world's top 10 snipers, able to take down targets from over 3,000 meters with ease. Levi is a retired soldier. Years of gunfire and warfare left him with PTSD. Every night, nightmares jolted him awake. With no family or friends, he would go to the beach and write in his journal after every episode. 4 years after leaving the military, he suddenly received a new summons. He returned to duty, but the one who met him wasn't an officer. It was a woman. After confirming Levi had no bad habits, she hired him for a secret mission. It was early autumn. Levi was flown out to the mission site by helicopter. To maintain secrecy, he was sedated during the flight. He only woke up shortly before arrival. His phone and watch were locked in a secure case. 3 minutes later, the helicopter reached the edge of the no-fly zone. Levi had to jump. After landing safely, he still had to hike 38 kilometers north to reach his destination. He walked day and night, finally arriving at the site. Before him lay a massive canyon. Then he heard voices behind him.
At long last, my sweet prince has come!
JD led him to the West Tower observation station. Levi was to spend the next year here, taking over JD's shift. The West Tower was equipped with solar panels and a backup generator. Rainwater collection provided fresh water. A vegetable garden nearby allowed for growing food. For protein, he could hunt.
What's that on the other side?
That is East Tower. Contact with the other side is strictly forbidden.
Levi's daily task was to walk the edge of the canyon, inspect the automated CIWS turrets and reload their ammo, check the perimeter fence, cloakers, and floating mines. There was no contact with the outside world here. Once every 30 days he had to report in using a special radio device. The so-called big ears were actually satellite signal transmitters, one every kilometer. Their purpose was to throw off attention, sending out fake signals on certain days to mislead satellites flying overhead, preventing the canyon from being discovered by the outside world. JD made it clear, always check and repair the big ears on time. If all of them fail or the canyon is taken over, it'll trigger the Stray Dog Protocol.
Stray Dog Protocol? What is that?
No idea.
The West and East Towers have existed since the end of World War II. Back then, leaders from both East and West formed an alliance, signing an agreement to make sure no one would ever know about the canyon. Every year, each side sends one representative to patrol their half.
So apart from keeping this place a secret, what's the mission?
JD tossed a timed grenade into the canyon. When it exploded, screams echoed from below.
Take care of what? Shh. What the hell is that?
That is what we call the Hollow Men.
In the late 1940s, the Soviet Union sent 2,400 cavalry troops into the canyon to wipe out the Hollow Men. None of them ever came back.
Is the gorge is the door to hell. And we're standing guard at the gate.
After explaining all the rules to Levi, JD left. He walked south for a full day and night, finally reaching the spot where the extraction chopper arrived. But just when he thought the mission was over, he was shot and killed.
Copy that.
Levi started his day's duties, inspecting the big ear systems, checking if any floating mines were missing, and reporting everything on time. That afternoon, he had just picked some vegetables from the garden when the sound of a chainsaw echoed through the canyon. He looked through his binoculars and saw someone at the East Tower. She seemed to sense someone watching her. She turned around. It was Anya. As always, Levi woke in the middle of the night from a nightmare. He would often see Anya staring alone at the West Tower from the East Tower late at night. November was Anya's birthday. She made herself a simple cake, stuck a candle on top, and sang herself a birthday song in Russian. Through her telescope, she saw Levi writing something under the moonlight. So she decided to make the first move. She wrote a message on a piece of paper, fired her gun into the air to get Levi's attention. It read, "What's your name?" Levi responded with a whiteboard. It said, "Communication with the East Tower is strictly prohibited." Anya wrote back, "Today's my birthday. I don't have to follow any rules." When Levi saw that, he brought out some homemade potato vodka to celebrate. From there, the two started getting bolder. Levi even put on a remote sniping performance. But while Anya got a birthday greeting from Levi, she was about to receive a much bigger surprise from the Hollow Men. Levi followed Anya's gesture and looked down. He saw the Hollow Men climbing up the cliff. With Anya's help, the Hollow Men near the West Tower were all wiped out, but on her side, the Hollow Men had already climbed up. Hearing gunshots from across, Levi quickly joined the fight. Every bullet burst ahead. One of the Hollow Men got shot and fell, triggering a floating mine's shockwave that knocked Anya down. Levi quickly fired up the machine gun to cover her. The Hollow Men triggered another mechanism. The auto turrets on the West Tower kicked in. After a barrage of fire, the Hollow Men were finally driven back. At dawn, Anya treated her wounds and wrote a line, "Best birthday ever." The two began repairing the damaged areas and restocking ammo and explosives. In December, Anya's father passed away. She told Levi she was heartbroken, so Levi decided to cross over. He modified an RPG, removed the explosive, and kept only the propulsion system. Then he tied a rope to the back and fired it toward the East Tower. Anya caught the rope and tied it to a tree. Using it, Levi made it across. They spent a wonderful night together. But the next day, just as Levi was about to return, something went wrong. The Hollow Men tried to break through again and accidentally triggered a floating mine on the West Tower. The explosion sent shards flying at high speed, cutting the rope. Levi fell from high above. Levi! Anya quickly geared up and jumped into the canyon to save him, but she landed in a river by accident. The strong current slammed her into the surrounding rocks, causing her powered winch to fall off. She kept drifting downstream until she managed to grab onto a tree branch and finally stopped. Meanwhile, Levi had landed on a tree inside the canyon. That tree was home to some mutant insects camouflaged as branches. Sensing a human presence, they started to wake up. This is a forest of humans. Every tree you see used to be a person. Due to genetic mutation and fusion with plants, they turned into twisted, terrifying, dead trees. 10 minutes ago, Levi had fallen into this isolated canyon and was hanging upside down from a tree. The mutant bugs on the tree were camouflaged as branches. Sensing a human, they woke up and saw him as food. Levi pulled out his pistol, shot at the bugs, and unhooked his harness. Instantly, dropped to the ground beneath the tree. But the red slime on the ground stuck him tight. Underneath, a giant skeletal mouth opened wide, ready to swallow him whole. At the last second, Anya arrived just in time and shot the skeleton with perfect accuracy. Wounded, the bony mouth slowly sank back beneath the roots. Anya cut through the slime with a knife and pulled Levi free. Yellow fog filled the air. They had planned to head to the east wall to find the broken zip line, but the sounds of howling echoed around them. Three mutant cavalrymen suddenly emerged from the thick fog. Their bodies and their horses were fused with plant genes, covered in branches. They charged at the two, attacking over and over again. They managed to take down two of them. The last one got away. Levi guessed the cavalrymen saw them as food. He checked their uniforms. It said 1st Airborne Division, U.S. Army. Looking at the 1940s gear, Levi figured they were part of the 2,400 paratroopers sent after World War II. But what happened to turn them into this? Then came more bad news. Anya realized she had lost their electric zipline grip, the one tool that could get them out of the canyon, gone. But standing around waiting to die wasn't an option, so the two kept moving forward. Not far ahead was the forest of humans. Their feet were buried in the ground, upper bodies twisted in grotesque poses, with branches growing growing out of every part. After passing through the forest, they found an abandoned town. It was falling apart, the buildings covered in overgrown plants. The ground was cracked and raised. Levi was sure it was from an earthquake. Then the howling came again. They rushed into a nearby church to hide. There were a few long-dead bodies still sitting on the pews, now just skeletons wrapped in spider webs. Levi sniffed the small box in one skeleton's hand. Inside was cyanide. He guessed they all took their own lives.
What's worse than death?
This place is evil.
Something dropped from the ceiling. Anya shined her flashlight upward. A swarm of skull-headed spiders came crawling down at them. And not just more spiders. A few hollow men burst in too. They were now trapped on both sides. Luckily, the skull spiders attacked anything that wasn't one of their own. No discrimination, just pure aggression. Anya broke free and blasted open the church wall with a grenade. The two escaped through the hole in the wall. The sound of howling kept echoing around them. Clearly, their location had been exposed. They kept moving forward and found an air raid shelter. Judging by its condition, it must have been built in the 1940s. They went inside, hoping to find a way out. The entrance was a mess. Collapsed metal frames were blocking the path. To go deeper, they had to squeeze through the tight space. Anya had to remove her ammo pack and leave it at the entrance so it wouldn't get stuck. After crawling through the narrowest part, they reached a wide corridor. It was also covered in strange plants, just like outside. At the end was a lab filled with bizarre human skeletons. One had fingers over 2 meters long. Another had a spine stretched out to 3 meters. One even had weird plants growing out of its head. The lab's generator still worked, running on propane. Anya activated it. Levi used the old-fashioned player strapped to his back to play the tape he found. That's when they finally learned the horror behind the canyon. At the end of World War II, Oppenheimer and others developed the atomic bomb. At the same time, another group in this lab was working on a deadly bioweapon. But then, a magnitude 8.6 earthquake hit, damaging the base and causing a toxic leak that contaminated the entire canyon. Anyone exposed to the toxin for more than 5 hours would go through genetic mutation within 5 days. Now that they understood the truth, Levi started looking for a way out. But in a nearby room, he found a computer. The computer had an LCD monitor, meaning someone else had been here in recent years. On the screen was the logo of Black Lake. Levi immediately recognized it as a paramilitary organization. A canyon this dangerous should have been destroyed long ago. But Black Lake, a private company, had kept it a secret. They were using drones to harvest hybrid gene samples here, trying to create super soldiers, and the so-called stray dog project was a failsafe. If all the big ears stopped working or the canyon was exposed to the outside world, they'd detonate a bomb called Stray Dog to wipe out the entire area. Just as the two were about to leave the shelter, Anya realized the ammo pack she had left by the door was gone. Opened the door and saw the ammo pack lying on the ground outside.
They're playing with us.
They threw 2 smoke grenades for cover, carefully approached the ammo pack. Just as she picked it up, Anya was caught in a trap the Hollow Man had set on the ground. Anya was dragged away by the horsemen. A fallen branch stabbed into her side. Then she hit a tree trunk and blacked out. Levi followed the path where Anya had been taken. He found a massive biochemical missile silo. He knew Anya had to be at the very bottom. Meanwhile, Anya's hands were tied and suspended in the air, surrounded by piles of human bones. These were all victims eaten by the Hollow Man. The Hollow Man approached Anya. He twisted the branch stuck in her stomach. Anya woke up screaming in agony. While the Hollow Man hesitated for a moment, Anya had already cut through the rope around her wrists. Levi arrived just in time and killed the Hollow Man with a heavy weapon. To get out of the missile silo, they had to cross the bridge ahead. The nearby biochemical missile had been damaged by the earthquake, releasing toxins into the air. All the workers who used to be near the missile had been infected and mutated. They became living nodes on a massive vine. Their breathing was slow and rhythmic, meaning they were asleep. As long as they didn't wake them, they could cross the bridge and leave the silo. But the vines were too dense. Anya accidentally stepped on one. Levi pulled out his combat knife and began slashing as he ran toward the other side. Just as he was about to reach it, a tentacle grabbed his leg. Anya leaped over to try to free him, but she wasn't strong enough. To save Levi, she fired her last grenade and burned the entire vine. As screams echoed behind them, the two escaped the silo. Outside was a military base. In one of the warehouses, they found an old tracked jeep equipped with a powerful winch. It worked just like an electric ascender. With this vehicle, they could use the zip line to escape the canyon. Anya drove the jeep toward the east wall under Levi's direction to look for the zip line.
There, that's it.
They planned to attach the zip line to the winch. Anya held off the incoming army of hollow men. As the jeep revved to full power, the winch started turning. Slowly, the zip line began pulling the jeep upward, but just as they climbed out of the thick smoke, the jeep suddenly lost power. Looking down, they saw another wave of hollow men climbing up the rope. They had no choice but to pull out their melee weapons. More and more hollow men kept coming. Without heavy weapons, it became harder and harder to fight back. Anya told Levi to ignite the spare propane tank in the back of the jeep. Levi stabbed the metal container with his knife. The propane spilled directly onto the hollow men clinging to the zip line. Then he lit a flare and tossed it down. The moment it touched the propane, the flames spread rapidly and triggered an explosion from the tank. Levi's leg was pinned and injured by the jeep during the blast. Anya dragged him onto a ledge along the cliff wall, then cut the zip line, sending the jeep and the hollow men crashing down together. They were now very close to the ground. Using their expert climbing skills, they made it back to the East Tower. Neither of them had any family. Fate brought them together, and after everything they had been through, they became lovers. Anya suggested disappearing together to France, but before that, they had to destroy the canyon to stop the hollow men from escaping, and to prevent Black Lake from using the genetic tech inside to wreak havoc across the world. Anya set up a new zip line to help Levi return to the West Tower, but their mission inside the canyon had already been discovered by high-level agents. The lab computer had recorded everything.
Commander, Levi Kane is compromised. Gather your team, we'll leave in the morning.
The next day, they each planted bombs on their assigned big ears, planning to blow them up and trigger the stray dog protocol. Right after setting the charges, a high-level agent arrived at the West Tower in a helicopter with his team. Levi shouted, "Run!" The two of them dashed into the woods, checking the countdown timer as they ran. The agent searched the West Tower but found no one, so he launched a drone to pursue them. Both of them were carrying sniper rifles, kept running while watching the distance tracker, didn't stop until they hit 3,800 meters, set up their rifles and detonated the bombs planted on the big ears. 3,800 meters was the maximum distance they could hit the explosives accurately.
What the hell was that?
As each big ear was blown up, one after another, the stray dog protocol was activated.
Stray dog.
We have 2 minutes.
The lead agent quickly boarded the helicopter to escape. The blast radius of the stray dog was 4,200 meters. Levi and Anya were running with everything they had. They just needed to run 400 more meters to get out of the danger zone. When the bomb went off, the entire canyon was leveled. All the mutated hollow men inside were wiped out. Black Lake's plan to use the mutated genes to create super soldiers was completely destroyed. Anya made it past the 4,200-meter safe zone, but Levi's injured leg made it hard for him to run. The shockwave from the explosion sent him flying into the pool beneath a waterfall. His fate was unknown. Anya turned to look back across the river, hoping Levi had made it out too, then turned away and left. According to the agreement they had made, they wouldn't go back to city life right away. Each had to live alone for 5 days to make sure they hadn't mutated. If mutated, they'd end it themselves. Anya marked an X on the cave wall for each day that passed. When she confirmed she was still human, she left the cave. She and Levi had promised to live a quiet life together in the town of Ez in France. Every day she waited at the agreed spot for Levi to show up, but each day ended in disappointment. Until 4 months later, just as she was about to bring drinks to a customer, she turned and saw Levi sitting in a chair, looking at her. Levi, just like the first time they met, wrote his order down on a piece of paper.